I want to start by saying that if you're someone who thinks the beta of Luigi's Mansion is better than the final game, you're wrong. The beta is complete garbage, and I know this because I worked at Nintendo as part of the team that developed the game. I was a game developer and assistant during the process. Also, if you're hoping to play the beta, you won't be able to. Even if the ROM hacking community targets it, they won't be able to recreate it entirely or accurately. It was the early 2000s, and we were preparing the game for Space World. I'm grateful to have been part of the development team. And I'm glad the game became as popular as it did, spawning sequels like Dark Moon and Luigi's Mansion 3. It's just too bad none of them were good. But this story isn't about the second or third games. It's about the first one. I was one of the few employees who really cared about that game, and I'm actually the one who suggested the 3DS remake. There was one employee on our team who wanted the game to have a much darker tone, which didn't fit the Mario standard at all. He helped with development, and to tease the game to the public, we created a full motion video. It was even posted on YouTube. The video was meant to showcase the graphics of the Nintendo Gamecube. The creepiest thing this employee contributed was that disturbing clip used at E3, the one of Luigi with those eerie, soulless eyes. He modeled that. FYI, that wasn't supposed to be part of the game over sequence. It was used to promote the game and grab attention. We needed to convince players to try the game, and this was the best way we could think of to market it. Now, what did we actually add? Well, at that point, we hadn't added much yet. But here's what I can tell you. There's a scene where lightning strikes as the camera zooms in on the mansion, showing Luigi entering and looking back at the camera before turning around. This became the pause screen. Another scene showed Luigi being chased by a blue ghost, followed by more ghosts tormenting him. And yes, that scene where Luigi steps out of the mansion with that unsettling, glooming face, that was in there too. There's also the scene of 3 ghosts playing cards in the parlor, which made its way to the final game. It was used for the ghost portrificationizer. I can't believe I did that in one take! Where bosses ended up trapped in paintings after Luigi defeats them. And yes, I know the bosses had some pretty dark backstories. We were having a rough time working on the game, and that affected the story choices, but that's beside the point. We showcased all of this at Space World 2000. By 2001, we were still working on the game when Miyamoto came into the room and told us to get ready for E3. One of the team members told the disturbing clip employee not to add anything like that again. Here's a list of changes we'd made by then. The title screen had skip intro and from the beginning options. If you chose from the beginning, you'd see a different logo than the one in the final game. Also, if you left the game idle too long, Luigi would crouch down. Professor Egad's dialogue was different too. His name was spelled with only one D. Fortunately, the disturbing employee didn't mess up again. In fact, he contributed something useful. He made the prototype of the poltergeist, though it was more square and we cut it for good reasons. The prototype had a heat meter. If it hit 10, the poltergeist would burst into flames, hurting Luigi. It was graphic, but at least he didn't make it so Luigi bled or lost chunks of his body. If he had, I would have slapped him. Even if I got fired, I wouldn't regret it. This is a children's game. Mario should be safe for the whole family. It shouldn't be graphic. Though, interesting enough, in the final game, there were bloodstains in the breaker room on the floor. Some YouTube videos show it, and I had no idea it was in the game until recently. But that's all there was to it. Now, here's where things get disturbing. The Game Boy Horror had a timer. You might think it would trigger that creepy clip of Luigi stepping out of the mansion, but no, it worked more like a demo clock, where EGAD would send you to the back of the title screen so others could play. There was a bug though. Players could still explore the mansion, and many of the shadows were glitched. Luigi's shadow would be off the ground, distorted, or even chase the player at times. That's when people stopped playing the demo and waited for the full game. Unfortunately, that glitch made it into the final release too, appearing in the nursery, balcony, and the telephone room. Luckily, it was fixed for the 3DS remake. However, many of us realized something was wrong. You remember what I said about that clip? You know how it scared people? Well, the look of Luigi in that clip, where he exits the mansion with the gloomy face and the lighting lights up the scene, it was only the first half. I swear to God, that employee, I have no idea what his intentions were, or why the company kept him around. Even as I write this, he's still an employee. Which is fair, because, you know, as much as we fucking hate Nintendo, like, let's be honest, they probably get by because they actually do treat their employees relatively well. Like, you never hear layoffs from Nintendo. Regardless, this is how the entire clip played out. And remember when I said it wasn't supposed to be a game over? Well, it wasn't. But it was hauntingly close. After Luigi stood in front of the mansion, thunder cracked. He looked down at the ground, which never happened in the cutscene. The camera zoomed in on a daisy in his hand, and a tear rolled down his face. He whispered one word. Mario! Luigi walked slowly over to the sidewalk in front of the mansion. He sat down, his shoulders shaking. Then, after a long moment, he curled up in the ball. In the distance, the mansion slowly began to fade away, and Mario's name could be seen, trapped forever inside the painting. Luigi sobbed, but then his sad, gloomy expression turned to something darker. His eyes were now entirely black, his face twisted in anger. A car's headlights glared from the darkness, and Luigi, almost as if possessed, stood up and walked in the path of the car. The driver slammed on his brakes, but it was too late. The car hit him, sending him sprawling back. His hat flew off and landed perfectly on the sidewalk, now stained with his own blood. The car stopped, and a muffled voice could be heard. Peach speaking to someone about taking Luigi's body to the Mushroom Kingdom hospital. The screen cut to black, but not before showing Luigi's lifeless body lying on the ground. His eyes still hollow, his hat lying beside him. The words on the screen were familiar, but they felt different. Good night. I don't know how to process this. I remember hearing theories about Luigi being dead in the game, how the mansion is some kind of twisted purgatory. Maybe, just maybe, there was some truth to it. I'm still haunted by that video, by what we saw, and how it was all unfolded. I don't know how I feel about Nintendo anymore. Why would they let someone like that stay on the team? Why did they let those dark elements into the game? The whole feeling feels wrong, and I can't help but wonder what they were trying to hide. I'll say this. If you ever want to run a company as big as Nintendo, listen to the people who are working with you. Don't let the money blind you. And honestly, I remember hearing a rumor about an Easter egg related to the Shadow glitch. Something about Nintendo meaning leave luck to hell instead of heaven. Maybe they should have listened to that warning, because by allowing someone like him to represent their company, it feels like they've already left luck to hell. Oh well. It's just what it is. Sincerely, a former Nintendo employee. Guys, I hate video games. Something that's funny about these creepypastas of Japanese games is the author tends to either forget or not realize that the game wasn't made for English or Western culture originally. Getting a job at Nintendo basically guarantees your life. He put the Mario painting on a tombstone. Just like the Minecraft movie, we'll get Dr. Mario. Oh, wait. Luigi, no! Why would they let such dark elements be in the game? The entire Zelda series be like... Paper Mario wasn't a part of my childhood. It wasn't my favorite game. Nor in the top 10. This was my experience with an odd phenomenon that I shouldn't have discovered in the first place. How it began. The day began September 22nd, 2014. It happened yesterday. Me and my two brothers were just hanging out playing Animal Crossing New Leaf. My older brother was on our PS3 playing an old PS1 game. Then I heard an odd noise from upstairs. It sounded faint, but noticeable. Construction going on upstairs. I asked my brothers, whose name I won't explain for privacy reasons, if they heard it too. No, I don't hear anything, one of them said. I thought they were trolling me by ignoring the noises. After all, brothers do that stuff nowadays. Anyways, I went upstairs and saw a door that wasn't there before. I, being a very curious individual, opened the door. Upon opening the door, I saw a practical ton of Paper Mario merchandise. In the middle of the room, two things among the merch caught my eye. One of them was a thumbstick, and the other was a Nintendo 64 cartridge. On the thumbstick, it was a note. Dear players, use the thumbstick if you do not own a Nintendo 64 device. I used the thumbstick. I was alive during the Nintendo 64 era, don't judge me, to play the game. I turned on the computer and put in the thumbstick. The thumbstick had a ROM titled Pay Per Mario. I knew from there that this was some sort of hack. I know that only game hacks have new titles. I have experienced some of this stuff, trust me. Anyways, I was lucky, as I had Project 64 on hand already. I launched it and saw the title saying, of course, Pay Per Mario. Yes, Gold, that is actually how you spell it, like PAY-PER. I went to the file select screen as usual, and chose the first slot to make a save file. I was taken to the regular Insert File Name Here screen. This was the first odd occurrence. You see, I tried to put the name of Kaido, but every time I put in any letter, it just put in the letters in this order. P-A-Y-P-E and R. Obviously, this spelled pay per. And at least it didn't put in hell or Satan or some shit. Anyways, I made the file and started it. The game spawned me in some sort of bin with a faint text saying, Video game merchandise! Then I realized Mario was in a bin filled with other Marios, Sonics, Luigis, etc. As if you use a toy in a Toys R Us or something. Then the camera zoomed out, showing a little girl picking up the Mario I was controlling. Text appeared saying, Mommy, I want that one! Okay, dear, how much for the Mario toy? Roughly $5. Good deal if I do say so myself. Then the little girl walked out of the store with Mario in hand. More text appeared saying, A small drive later. Probably stating that the girl and her mother or father were driving home. Mario was now in a straight cave that was rather short. After the small walk, there was a door. I made Mario open the door. And there were 3 bodies hanging on the hooks. Luigi, Peach, and Bowser. This person must have been very dedicated to this hack. It looked as a Nintendo 64 game's graphics could go. Even though this person may have a rather sick mind, I still have to give him credit. It looked so good, almost Nintendo quality. Luigi's body shook, and more text appeared, stating, Mario, not to you too. You have to get out of here. Something here is demented, and it's probably after you. If it catches you... And it cut off there, as Luigi's body stopped, as if Luigi had died. I then got an option to save the game. I did. Almost immediately, I was forced into a battle with the shadow version of Mario from Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, when Mario lost his body to Dooless. Even though I didn't have Goombario, the Mario's HP was visible. 99. Trust me, this fight was almost impossible without good skill. I almost resorted to cheating, but I didn't have to, because I'm a fucking gamer. Shadow Mario, let's call the other Mario that, does 5 damage per hit, which is half of Mario's HP. It was very difficult. Luckily, when you block his attack, it does 0 damage. It literally took 99 turns, as each hit I did to him only caused him to lose 1 hit point. Eventually, somehow I won. He vanished, and the camera zoomed out to show the room that the game was in. I immediately ran to the room and saw a small box, looking similar to the one Mario was in the exact same place. I picked up said box and tried shaking it in my room. It had an effect on the area, but ultimately, I was done with the hack. But right when I closed the ROM, more text appeared, but I couldn't catch it. I looked down at where the box was, and it was gone. I ran to where the odd worm was. It was gone too. Luckily, it was over, at least so far it is. I never saw any signs of that game again. Hell, the ROM was gone the same day I wrote this. It wasn't affected by the nightmares and nothing bad happened, but I'm posting this so that if it happens to you, I hope you beat Shadow Mario. Who knows what happens if you'll lose. I'm so confused. Are they still paper or? Thank God this describes the game mechanics. I've cheated. I'd have cheated if I wasn't so good at video games. Wait, that doesn't make sense. What part doesn't make sense, Radiant? It makes perfect sense. I just read it all. Let me tell you something. I love the Mario franchise. Why? Because I am an employee. I have an employee that works at Nintendo of America, and they send me random Nintendo games, including Mario, to test out to see if the difficulty is easy, medium, or hard for kids to play, but with this specific game. Oh boy. That's where this story starts. I was eating my dinner, which consisted of a cheeseburger and cheese fries from Shake Shack, until I heard a knock on the door of my apartment room. I opened the door and saw a package from the employee I was talking about. I opened up, and it was a copy of Paper Mario, the Origami King. I figured it was made during the time people were thinking to add a side quest to this game back in July of 2022 for DLC. However, I noticed that the game had a side quest for Bobby. Now this got my attention because I love Bobby. Besides, I even cut the fuse off my Bob-omb plushie to make a Bobby plush. I also noticed that the game was rated M, which is weird because every Mario game is rated E. I thought it was just a joke as I opened the case of the game and put the cartridge in my Switch. Boy, I wish I could regret doing that. Wait, you wish you can regret doing that, huh? Where's this? Move this over here. I have to do the calibration. There we go. The classic changing the rating of the game. The menu screen was surprisingly normal. However, there was an options menu in it. It had 2 options for the main game and a side quest for Bobby, which is locked until the player beats the main game. I played the main game, and the red stream request and the blue stream request was normal. However, here's where things get more disturbing. When I started the yellow stream request, I realize now why the game was rated M. Because there was going to be blood and disturbing scenes in there. I was worried this wasn't going to be good. Surprisingly, the scene where Ollie crushes Olivia with a giant rock didn't have any blood in it. Shocking, I know. However, when I finished beating the Paper Macho Gooper blooper boss, we get to the scene where Bobby sacrifices himself. However, when Bobby says, "And thank you, Mario, for everything," Bobby was very sad and he started crying. I soon realized that this scene was more sadder than the original. I was a little bit sad and impressed at the time that Nintendo did that. However, that sad and impressed expression turned to a traumatized expression when Bobby died. I'm not joking. When Bobby exploded, blood, all capitalized, came out of his exploding bombshell body. Some of the blood even landed on Mario. "Is this supposed to be a mod to disturb people?" I yelled in a scared tone. But no, it was real. Capital I and it. After Olivia came out of the place where the rock crushed her, she had blood on her dress and hat/crown. The rest of the scene played like normal, but when Ghost Bobby came out of the pile of rocks in Breezy Tunnel, I noticed that she had a ghostly tail instead of feet. I guess Nintendo decided to redesign Ghost Bobby, eh? However, that after Bobby said, "They say that laughter is the best medicine, right? So maybe it will make her laugh." He then said this line while crying tears of blood. "I'll miss you, Big M, and Olivia, sniff." That made me tear up a bit. This scene really is even more sadder than the original. I chose the Paper Macho Goomba mask and and that made Olivia laugh. After that, I'm having a stroke over here, guys. Oh, this has pictures. Yeah, it has pictures. Why do you think I picked it? Oh god, where was I? This is, for the record, not very well formatted. There's a lot of, blocks of text. I chose the Paper Macho Goomba mask, and that made Olivia laugh. After that, the rest of the game was normal, and I beat the final boss twice because I 100%ed the whole game. When I went to the menu, the side quest was unlocked after I beat the final boss for the first time. I clicked on the side quest, and it started at the inside of Breezy Tunnel, which is Bobby's home. Bobby was wearing a sleeping hat, and I suppose that it was nighttime in the Paper Mushroom Kingdom. He was looking at a picture in a picture frame of him when he was still alive, and Mario and Olivia posing together that he got from Shogun Studios. Fun fact, I think there's only a very narrow frame of time in that game where you can actually have all three of them. You actually have to go back and deliberately go get it. He then looked at another picture in a picture frame of him. Mario and Olivia posing together that he got from Shogun Studios, but this time, the picture showed him in his ghost form with Olivia and Mario not noticing that Bobby's a ghost because he is invisible. This went on for 5 seconds. Then he started crying himself to sleep with tears of blood. There was even lyrics at the bottom of the screen where it meant that a musical number was coming up. It was a lyrical version of the Bob-omb's Encouragement music track, or as I like to call it, Bobby's Lullaby, with Pinkin WhiteBat12/DrawingStar12's lyrics. Here's the link to the song, by the way, and then it's a link. Hold on, I said. Nintendo knows that user and didn't copyright strike her like they usually do to innocent users that make mods of their original game and upload their music tracks. Phew, I was worried that Nintendo was going to take her down. After Bobby sang his lullaby, he sighed and continued crying for a couple seconds, and then he fell asleep. While tears were flowing out of his eyes, I'm literally like running out of RAM reading this. There's something sideways about how it's written, and I can't put my finger on it. The screen turned left to show two Monty moles having a conversation. One of them said, "I think I heard that this mine is haunted and that there's a ghost in there, Jake." Another one said, "I know, right? After that explosion I heard outside, I think there's a ghost Bob-omb here. We should close this mine down and turn it into a hill, blocking the entrance and exit holes of the tunnels with these stairs." This caused Bobby to wake up in a scared mood because he was going to be locked in this cave forever. "Did they say close the tunnel forever?" Bobby sniffled in fear as he was shivering. "I got to find Big M and Olivia before they close the mine down. This mine is mine." Bobby, now in a determined expression. Whoops. My workspace changed. That's what happened. I thought everything just closed on me. Bobby, now in a determined expression, wiped away his tears as he said, "Don't worry, Big M and Oblivia, I'm coming for you." Bobby then flew out of the door of Breezy Tunnel into the boot car area. I talked to the boot car toad guy, and for some reason he was scared for a second, and then Bobby told him that he was a friendly ghost. Wait, is that the picture you want to use for friendly ghost? Is that a spoiler for later? Wait. This is like the order that the image shows up. The toad said that ghosts like Bobby can use their tails to spin. I pressed the L button to make Bobby spin on his tail. The same thing happened when you push the R button. I pushed the A button and it caused Bobby to use his tail as a spring for platforming. I pushed the B button and it caused Bobby to whack stuff with his tail. When I went to the scorching sandpaper desert, I was expecting nobody to be here because Bobby is a ghost and people are afraid of ghosts, but I was wrong. It seemed that everyone in the Paper Mushroom Kingdom felt bad for Bobby and wanted to help. Everyone knows his story, like immediately. It was just like, boom. It seems that everyone in the Paper Mushroom Kingdom, blah, blah, blah. I asked some of the toads, including Professor Toad, but he didn't join my team. Why is that all capitalized? Like, in first whatever. And some of Bowser's troops on where they've seen Mario and Oblivia. Some of them said they were at Fire Velumentel's cave, and others said they were at Shroom City. I didn't know where to go first, so I went to Shroom City first. I went into the hotel of Shroom City and asked for the Sniffit hotel manager if Mario and Olivia were there. The Sniffit hotel manager said yes, but they left here a couple hours. Oh god, it's the fucking white Bob-omb quest all over again from Paper Mario 2. I then went to the Temple of Shrooms, and this is where things got interesting and creepy at the same time. When I got into a battle with a folded soldier, I had attack moves that were different from Mario. The jumping moves were the same, except I'd use Bobby's tail as a spring to bounce on the folded soldiers, and the hammer moves were the same, except with Bobby swinging his tail to attack folded soldiers. However, I noticed two more attacks that replaced the fire flower and ice attacks. One of the attacks was called the eating attack, and the other was the scary face attack. I tried the scary face attack, and Bobby transformed into a hideous monster. His fuse was a little bit decayed, his eyes were pitch black with some bloodshot human eyes hanging out of them, and a small chunk of ghostly body was broken off. God damn it. I was scared by that face, and so were the folded soldiers. Well, at least some parts of his body wasn't bleeding for now. I got into another battle with a folded soldier, and I tried eating the eating attack. The attack had Bobby growing a mouth with bloody fangs, getting ready to eat a folded soldier. He then inhales the enemies into his mouth and chomps them up with his fangs, causing blood to spill everywhere from the folded soldier. Pretty cool attack, I said. It feels disturbing, though. Once I got to the disco area... Oh god, there's a wall of fucking text. I gotta lock in. Once I got to the disco area, there was no sign of Mario and Olivia. Also, there was a checklist at the pause screen to see the places you've been to. I went to the Fire Velumentals temple, and there was a boss fight there. The boss was a giant folded blarg that breathed fire and bites you, and I couldn't use my attacks on him because he's made of fire and would burn me. However, I noticed the water velumental symbol. I followed the arrows to the symbol, and it made Bobby squirt water so that the boss fight was finished within a few turns with the squirty Bobby move. I went to the purple streamer area, including the Princess Peach cruise boat, and all the islands, but they had no sign of Mario and Olivia. However, I found Luigi in one of the islands, and he joined my team. He told me that Mario and Olivia were kidnapped by King Ollie, and that he's hiding them in a random place. Uh-oh, said Bobby. I've got to save them. I knew my bad dreams of something terrible happened to them came true. The boss in the Ice Elemental Temple was a folded Chief Chili who freezes you with his ice beam and does a body slam on you. I did a couple attacks on him to drain his health, and I finished him off by following the arrows to the Fire Elemental symbols, and it caused Bobby to breathe fire. Folded Chief Chili boss beaten. Are Mario and Olivia here? Oh god, it's all one fucking block of text. Paragraphs, my friend, paragraphs. Are Mario and Olivia here? Nope. Also, Luigi's attack is just him using the poltergust to shoot 4 slime balls to attack the enemy. I climbed up the sea again. Again, no sign of Mario or Olivia. I entered one of the grain streamer areas and was in Shangri Spa. When I got to the spa, there was a cutscene where a relaxed Bobby was talking to Luigi, and an angel-dressed Toads massaged him at the spa about his journey with Mario and Olivia in his journey without what? Hold on. Can I, what? Huh? When I got to the spa, there was a cutscene where relaxed Bobby was talking to Luigi, and the angel-dressed Toads massaged him at the spa about his journey with Mario and Olivia and his journey without them. Wow, said Luigi. I've seen you before, but I didn't know who you were when I saw you in your new form. When I first saw you, I was scared of you because you were a ghost, but I'm glad we're a friendly ghost. Oh, really, said Bobby as he smiled with a bloody grin on his face. Yes, you do, said Luigi in a somewhat scared tone. Well, that was relaxing, said Bobby. Back to our adventure. I went to Spring of Jungle Mist, and the boss fight was a folded naval piranha plant. However, unlike the last 2 bosses I mentioned, she was very hard because she kept spamming her fireball attack and her nipper plant attack, and her vines were preventing me from move to the combat symbol. Luckily, when I got to the combat symbol, after a couple times of losing to her, I found her weak point, which was her belly button, and my tail whack ability caused this boss fight to be done with. Bobby and Luigi noticed that Mario and Olivia haven't been eaten by the folded naval piranha, so they headed over to Bowser's castle. We checked all the rooms in there, and there was no sign of Mario and Olivia. when we went to Bowser's throne room, Bowser had a scared expression on his face. When he talked to him, he wasn't scared of Bobby, surprisingly. But his dialogue when he talked to him was something like, Junior kidnapped by some maniacs. I was confused on what he meant, so I found a note on Bowser's chair and I read it. It said, me I finally did it, like 5 exclamation marks. I kidnapped that pesky plumber and my sister as well as that spoiled brat. Ha 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 ha. Try to find them if you can. Huh? Said Luigi. Why is there no signature on it? Was King Ollie lazy to write his signature because he didn't want any people to look for him? I'm not sure, said Bobby. But we gotta find the princess. No, but we have to find that Ollie guy who kidnapped him. When I left Bowser's castle, I heard a chainsaw noise in the background along with the toad screaming. Uh-oh, I think that's coming from that destroyed castle on top of that mountain. We better check it out, said Luigi. It kind of looked like Ollie's castle, but the walls were rusted, the windows were broken, and some parts of it were destroyed. Hold on, said Bobby. I can't do this by myself. You go on without me. Oh, wait, what? You go on. Wait, I can't do this by myself. You go on without me. Okay then, said Luigi. Wish me luck. Bobby sighed as he teleported back to Breezy Tunnel. I heard someone died there. I don't want to end up like that toad. If only I was brave enough to save my friends, said Bobby. Just then, Bobby noticed 2,000 paper cranes from the Mushroom Kingdom's Origami Festival stored inside a giant crate on the dirt of the cave. This means that he could use them to make 2 wishes. What the fuck? That is so convenient! Wait, don't you have to be the one that makes the crane? Isn't that how, like, the story goes? Bobby's wishes were for him to be the bravest Bob-omb in the world, and that he would transform from his ghost form to his alive form, and from his alive form to his ghost form whenever he wants. Okay, so he's Danny Phantom now. His wishes came true, and we get an epic transformation sequence with Bobby's ghostly tail shrinking into nothingness. Bobby's fuse also shrinking into nothingness, and his feet growing in. Bobby was happy to be alive again, and brave at the same time. He met the same toad and asked him if he could borrow his boot car, and he said yes. He went to the boot car and drove to the scorching sandpaper desert, where he drove to the yellow pipe with the number 3 on it as fast as he can so he can get back to the broken castle faster. He got into the pipe and it led him to a pipe museum. He then transformed back into his ghost form and he saw a black pipe, read the sign that said, "This pipe leads to the Origami Castle," and he went into it. I noticed that his castle was Ollie's castle after all, so maybe the final boss would be the same as the main game. Boy, was I wrong. The pipe said Bobby sent Bobby to the place where the destroyed castle was at. When he got near the castle, I noticed that there was blood spattered all over the walls of the castle. It had been a while since this story had some gore in it, and it's taking a turn for the worst. When I went into the castle, oh no, it's even worse than I thought! 3 exclamation points. The hallway of the castle contained a bloody mess and corpses of toads, Koopas, Goombas, and Shy Guys. I was about to throw up, but I was holding it in. When I entered the final room, oh my god. What I saw was a shadow that looked like King Ollie trapping Mario, Bowser Jr., Luigi, and Oblivia in a cage while eating. Yes, all capitalized. Eating a toad before using a leather to lower them into boiling lava. Ollie stopped eating the toad and he floated closer to me, and oh my god, does he look creepy. He was wearing an insane asylum coat he was covered in blood with his eyes were twitching, and one of his arms was shaped like a knife. What the heck am I playing? 3 exclamation marks, 3 question marks, I yelled to myself. I went to the bathroom and threw up in my toilet. Oh, said Ollie while laughing maniacally. New fresh meat for the grinder. Bobby realized what was going to happen as Ollie jumped on him. Luckily, he teleported just in time as Ollie was about to catch him. Gotcha. Oh god, it's fucking... Oh god, this is... Okay, it's the final boss, I think. This is like a huge wall of text. So, commercial break while I, like, catch up what fucking people are talking about here. Pretty cool attack, I said. This is... We gotta find the Koopas. I just think of the Mario Kart 64 Toad screen playing. Whoa, walking in halfway through a pasta is an experience. I don't think I remember the game well enough to follow all that. I sometimes feel like it's just randomly following a random character. I threw up. Yeah, I can't pronounce words. Gotcha, yelled Ollie. Wait, what the... He said as he realized that Bobby he caught wasn't actually Bobby, but it was a teddy bear. As Bobby was about to open the cage, Ollie said, aha, and then jumped while maniacally laughing to catch the ghostly Bob-omb, which led to the final boss against him. The boss fight was even more brutal than Salt Baker's boss fight in the Cuphead DLC. I don't have a reference point for that. I'm too dumb to play Cuphead. Why? The attacks involved him lighting a torch on a Koopa, turning into a dry bones, and using a bat to whack the dry bones into pieces at Bobbery. Shooting innocent Bob-ombs out of a cannon and a big Bob-omb at the end of the attack. Using a chainsaw to first saw lines on the battle ring, creating a hole of lava, and then slicing a Goomba into multiple pieces to cover the hole, just so Bobby can float to the covered hole and fall into the lava if he takes the... My god, write a game design doc, don't write a story. Wrong path, blah. Ollie's fourth and final attack in his first phase was him stabbing a Spike's stomach to throw 8 big spike balls around the left or right side of the ring. Luckily, since I'm a master at playing this game, I dodged those attacks with ease. I lowered his health meter in a matter of 5 minutes. Phase 1's taking like 5 minutes? This is some kind of Final Fantasy super boss. I got to his second/final phase. Wait, second/final, but that's like not like slash the symbol, that's like just slash is written in here. Which has him slicing a toad's head and then eating it, causing him to grow into a giant. His second phase attacks have him using a giant hands to crush Bobby, which has a 1-hit KO. However, this attack only acted if his health bar is low. And, you know, Nintendo always needs their hand bosses. His second hack attack is using a meat grinder to grind lots of Goombas, Toads, Koopas, and Shy Guys to create a giant meat dragon who breathes fireballs at Bobby, which thankfully isn't a 1-hit move. His third attack is him using his meat grinder again, but this time he uses it to create a meat snake who coils Bobby, and if he doesn't dodge his tail swing attack. His final attack involves him using his meat grinder yet again to create a meat bull who would charge at the spot Bobby is at 4 times from left to right. I died a couple times while beating this boss, but on my last attempt, I finally beat him when his health bar was low. My last attack was on a magic circle. The magic circle attack involved Bobby growing into a giant, even bigger than Ollie, and then he eats him and spits him out into his normal kingly form. And then Bobby shrinks back to his normal size. "Where am I?" says King Ollie. "You're in your castle," says Bobby. "Are you a ghost?" said Ollie. "Yes," said Bobby. "You caused me to sacrifice myself when you crushed Olivia with that rock." "Oh," said Ollie, "I remember doing that. By the way," said Bobby, "turn around." Ollie turned around and he saw a lot of dead bodies. "Oh no," said Ollie. "What have I done? I've killed all these people just to use their paper for folded friends and use their corpses for food." "Why, Ollie, why would you do that?" asked Bobby. "Because." 3 periods, 4 periods, sniffed Ollie. "After me and my sister were refolded, everyone didn't like me because I was bad. Even though I learned from my mistake when Mario and Olivia taught me my lesson and I got my revenge on them." Ollie then started crying lots of tears while Bobby was comforting him. "Don't worry, Ollie. Your father, your sister, and even Big M forgive you for what you did a long time ago. How long ago has this been? Like, what time passed?" "Maybe it'll be the time to do it now." "You're right, Bobby," sniffed Ollie. "It's time to do it again." The Origami King freed Mario, Bowser Jr., Luigi, and Olivia out of the cages and then apologized to them. Bowser Jr., being his usual childish self, ran as fast as he can to Bowser's castle so he can unsee the carnage. "It's okay, brother," said Olivia. "Promise me you will never do it again, okay?" said Luigi. "Okay," said Ollie. "Hey guys," said Bobby. "Bobby, is that you?" said Olivia. "Yes, ma'am," said Bobby. "It's me again." "Oh my gosh," said Olivia with an excitement and tears of joy. "Bobby is back. Bobby is back, and It's great to see you again, Bobby." Olivia soon stopped crying tears of joy and realized that Bobby looked different. "Bobby," said Olivia. "Yes, ma'am." Bobby said, "Why do you look different?" she asked. "I'm a ghost, Olivia," said Bobby. And he showed her a ghostly tail while shaking it. "See?" said Bobby. "Oh, I see," giggled Olivia. "I like your new form, but I want to see your old form again." "Well, you're in luck because I can transform into my alive form." Bobby then transformed into his alive form while everyone basically watched his epic transformation sequence in excitement. "Ta-da," said the no longer a ghost Bob-omb. "That's amazing, Bobby," said Ollie. "Aw, shucks," said Bobby. "Thanks, guys. You're welcome, Bobby," said Luigi. The game ended with a heartwarming moment where Olivia, Mario, Luigi, and Ollie were hugging Bobby while Bobby was blushing and crying tears of joy at the same time, saying, "It's great to see my friends again." The credits rolled, and it was the same credits in the main game with Luigi driving his cart and with Mario riding on it. The only difference is that Mario is not the only one riding the cart, but King Ollie, Olivia, and Bobby were also riding on it. The credits ended with Bobby's ghost form hanging up a picture of him, Olivia, Ollie, and Luigi. I took the cartridge out of my Switch, put it in the case, and instead of me destroying it with a flamethrower or putting it in my trash can, I put it in a box and buried it in the ground where no one could find it but me. The next day, I sent a letter to the employee of Nintendo of America saying that the game was too gory. It's a bad idea to add DLC in it. Keep it the way it is. The day after, the employee sent me a letter saying that the game needed to be more serious and it not suitable for kids, but if you want us to keep it this way, that it is, then we will do it. I'm glad that they kept it that way. The deed was now done. Guys, what? Held a message for a reason bullying. Allow will post a chat. Ha 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 ha. Curva ya perdole. A creepypasta with a good end. Just ignored all the dead bodies and dead people. Calling this a creepypasta is like SEO for fanfiction. This shit made me want to chew on a table. Suddenly an Ed McMillan game. Now I know how Meatball feels. Bobby is just like a blood eyes gore ghost with bloody teeth this whole time, by the way. Now, this isn't a story. Those are just words. It could be second/final. Oh, thank God. Another humble gamer creepypasta story. I threw up. One winged angel playing in the background. It was so awesome, I can't even describe it in text. Guys, this was a very weird story. The thing that, like, made me, like, pull this one out is because of the pictures. That was, like, what made me, like, pull these out. Just, what fantastic... This is, let's see. It was on DeviantArt. PMTOK Field Pasta / Creepypasta, Bobby's Journey. By Flesros123, DeviantArt. I forget that DeviantArt still exists sometimes. 21-minute read. Let's see if I got that in 21 minutes. What time are we at? That took me 37 minutes to read, guys. This is basically the equivalent of the rumors to save General Leo in Final Fantasy VI. God. I'm gonna have to, like, compile all these creepypastas into a single, like video on, like, October or, like, Halloween or whatever. Those were some interesting 37 minutes. Guys, I can't remember anything from that story, and I just read it. What happened? Steam Bug Fables. Just gonna, like, start this. I have never written a creepypasta before. I could write a Zid and Sniff one. It's so easy. Like, Twarda, like, put everything on the table. When I was 4 years old, my mom introduced me to a whole new world. Video games. Back in those days, my mom had a Wii and PlayStation 3. I no longer have those systems anymore, but I will always have fond memories of playing them. Fast forward 10 years, and I am a certified gamer. I played lots of video games, and have 2 retro consoles, the Nintendo 64 and the GameCube. Oh, please don't call the GameCube retro. However, I only had Mario Kart Double Dash to go along with it. That would all change when I asked for my mom for a copy of Super Mario Sunshine. Not Melee. Sorry, Melee fans. The day I visited my mom on 10/6/23, I was celebrating my 15th birthday there. Encased in wrapping paper was what felt like a DVD case. I opened it to find the aforementioned game above under it. I was so happy that I immediately turned on the TV, inserting the game into the player, and turned on the system. Things went quickly downhill, however. When I was turned on my GameCube, I saw this message on my screen. Your GameCube, model number DOL001, has run into an unexpected error. Please turn off the console. What the fuck? I had just gotten a new game moments earlier and it won't let me play it? Bullshit. I waited for the GameCube to close on its own. However, I reset the console because I was impatient. Then, I was greeted with a rather unpleasant message. Please shut down your GameCube. It was written in a grayish text, which made it scary. I did as the GameCube said. But once again, I turned on the system due to impatience. This time around, the GameCube was now in recovery mode. I crossed my fingers in hopes that the GameCube would recover and I would be able to play Super Mario Sunshine. However, this was ultimately not the case. The screen displayed the text, "Fatal error. Recovery mode could not be accessed." This screen fucking scared the living life out of me. The sound was so loud that I could go deaf at any moment. The screen was also constantly flashing, which would trigger seizures. After a while, the screen went black and displayed one final message. Your GameCube's BIOS has been corrupted. As a result, your GameCube is now bricked. Thank you for using GameCube. Copyright 2001 Nintendo. I immediately pulled the plug, went downstairs, and threw every component of the GameCube in the trash. To this day, I still have no idea how this error was caused. Guys, I hate video games. That's it. I think the last one I read was like a 30-minute story about Mario or whatever it was. That's the spooks. I was like trying to find some kind of story real fast just before for another reading, and I couldn't. I was like, I could do GameCube because like Paper Mario 2 was on that system. And then I skimmed this one and I was like, oh, it looks like the whole scary thing about this is like it's about error messages. And I was like, this is great.